Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And with the Overlord collab finally released, we're going to be taking a look at the brand new battle unit, Ainz. He is a pretty good unit, I would say. And what makes it better is that you are able to get a free dupe of him from the character introduction quest, which is just like survive 3 turns, send 1 orb for 3 turns, and you get a dupe. You must pull Ainz first in order to use this dupe, but you can get a free dupe. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to jump in. I'm going to move the description of all of his kit to the very end of the video and see how well that works out, and if people like that more than me talking about it in the beginning. We'll try it out for this one. You guys can let me know. But let's jump in. Alright, so we're going to start an Inferno 1 beatdown battle using this team setup. New Protector Rimuru, Ainz, Dark Milim, Shizuka, and Mirai from the Idolmaster collab, and then free-to-play Isis, because I like her kit more than I like the free-to-play Narborough Gamma that we got. We are running Space Milim and Water Soe in support slots, which means that we're going to start out with an extra 12 skill points, which means we can use both the Isis Orb Change and the green buff on turn 1, which sets us up pretty good for turn 2, as long as we don't get a lot of oranges. Turn 1 is just an orb change and Isis skills, so we're going to come back on turn 2 when we have a good starting hand. Okay, we're looking good on turn 2 right here. We've got only 1 orange orb, which is the bane of this team's existence for now. I expect one of the new units coming in to have a triple orb change to greens that would help us deal with that. But here, we're going to do a few things. So we're going to use Rimuru now to start stacking the element damage, and also reset the skill cost of Isis, so we're able to use her orb change here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get really funky, and we're going to get her away. And we're going to use Mirai to guarantee our entire next hand is greens. And at this point now, because we're going to have a lot of protection gauge, and Mirai is going to be constantly reset by Rimuru, we should be able to get a number of full hands of greens free and easy. And with the amount of points that greens are getting, you know, once we get Rimuru really stacked up, we're never going to run out of points. And we're going to get Ainz ult. Alright, we almost have an Ainz EX ult here, which actually works out very well. So, Milim can come out of here. Actually, no. So, here's what we're going to do. We're going to use the extra protection gauge plus the despair charge, which is 5% ult resistance down and a very terrible amount of passive damage. We're going to use Rimuru to reset the future hand of greens. We'll use that. And then we can safely pull Milim out while still retaining a 5 hand of greens, because that'll guarantee this orange coming in now is green. Perfect. And then these two orbs will get the Ainz ult, and now we're just stacking. So live mode plus the weakness strike plus the ult resistance down from Shizuka makes Shizuka a very, very good unit for this team. So there we go. We got the EX ult for Ainz very, very quickly. I also expect one of the coming units to have an ult swap ability, hopefully 3 green ults, maybe 2 like Shuna, but it is what it is. So now, I mean, Ainz is done. Like, he doesn't need to be up front anymore. We just want his ult. So we'll go ahead and use the extra protection gauge. We will be missing, since we don't have an ult swapper, we can't leave him up front because I want to send full hands of greens, which means we're going to miss out on a lot of the live mode buffs, which is pretty unfortunate. But we can still at least get his weakness damage stacked and the element damage stacked before he goes away. So reset, weakness strike, we'll do the ult resistance down as well, and then he can go away. Because now, essentially, we're going to run full hands of greens, or mostly greens and some ults. So you'll come in, that'll pull this other green orb in, perfect, and we're going to look pretty good here. So this 12% attack buff doesn't apply to Ainz, unfortunately, but we're now saving him in the back for a big-time nuke. And all we have to do is continue to stack buffs on him as much as possible, which means leaving Mirai up front, because she's going to need it. Alright, so Isis, we can use her buff again now. Boom, and that means that the greens will be perfectly good. We'll get her out of here. For Ainz, we will use the protection gauge again, plus the despair, so another 5% alt resistance down. We'll get another stack of Rimuru on him, and that's pretty much what we're going to do until we get another alt swapper, and then you just leave Ainz up front the entire time. So another weakness buff, another live mode, which is more alt resistance down, and then he can go away. He can go away for Milim, who also has an alt. So now we're going to send this. And this is pretty much what we're going to do for the next couple turns until turn 8. So I'll bring you guys right back. Alright, we are back on turn 8. We're ready to go. 404 points, 2 more stacks of Rimuru. We've got the orbs that we need. So we're going to bring Ainz in for Mirai, because she no longer matters here. Boom. And then we'll use the guaranteed crit for Stern of Spirit and Commander. We'll use the alt buff, and the skill fusion for Milim gives all dark allies attack by 25%, which Ainz will get because he's dark. We'll do one more stack of the weakness strike. So we're going to get a lot of stuff here. And then we'll do 2 stacks of Rimuru, which will get us an extra 20% element damage, and that will also reset the Shizuka buff to where live mode will give us another, 8% damage, 8% attack right here. Boom. Protection gauge plus another stack of alt resistance down, and we've used pretty much every skill available on this hand that would actually matter, besides the orb change, but we don't need it. So, Ainz is looking pretty good. He's at 42% attack, not the highest, but we've got 85% dark attack, awesome. And then we've got 80% weakness strike, guaranteed crits, 70% magic attack, and then a 25% straight up attack buff. He's looking good. And then Leon has 60% alt resistance down here, and another 30% here from the despair. So total of 90% alt resistance down. And then also the alt buff, 70%. So Ainz is going to do a lot of damage. We're going to send Shizuka first, though, because she also lowers magic resistance by 15%, which means Ainz will just hit harder. So let's see how much damage he does here. Let's turn the animation on as well. So Shizuka, I don't care about her. So there's the 8% attack coming in. So now we're at, what, the 50% now? 50% attack? Because we were at 42 earlier? I don't care about Shizuka. 112? Awesome, whatever. Ainz. Bone Daddy. Fallen down. And with Rimuru. How much damage does he do here on a not fully optimized quarter meta of a team? Almost 3 million damage. Almost 3 million damage. I would not say that was difficult, and we definitely didn't optimize that because we didn't have him in for every single turn to get live mode active. Almost 3. Let's try and bring maybe Blanc or something and see what we can get out of this, and by keeping him in the entire time. Alright, we're back on turn 7. We've been making this work a little bit better. We swapped out Isis for Nabe, and we took out Shizuka for Blanc. So we've had an alt swapper, but she's turning it to blues, which means it's kind of funky to play around. You really got to understand what you're doing here. But this is the last turn, so I'm okay with using points here. So, boom, boom, and boom. Take care of that, so any future orbs will be greens. And then we'll take Mirai out of here. Mirai can go away. And then we'll swap these orbs. Let's see. Let's do a reset just to make it a little bit cheaper. And then we'll do the alt swap to double blue. And then we'll use the Nabe orb change to blue to greens. And we'll be looking good. So we've been stacking with Rimuru. He's been up front the entire time. And he'll have a decent amount of attack buffs here. So, next turn, we can go ahead and use his attack buff, the Blanc buff. She's got 100% weakness strike. The synergy resistance down on her doesn't matter because we're not going to synergy. At least we shouldn't, and I hope we don't because he's got 100% resistance to that. So, let's do boom right there. Good. And then we'll bring Milim in for the alt buff slash dark, attack buff for dark allies. We'll use Ainz's own crit and magic attack buff. We'll put another stack of the alt resistance down despair. And now we're up to 6 on that. And yeah, I think that's all we can do except 2 more stacks of Rimuru. Now, I don't know if this is going to out-damage, because Shizuka by herself is doing like 3 different things, because she's got live mode, alt resistance down, and the weakness buff. So I actually don't know if we're going to out-damage it here. And this was actually a lot more tougher to play around, because we're alt-swapping to blues, and then we got to be very conscious of how many blues we actually have. So, Ainz, with the 70% alt buff already, 78% attack, so higher, 85% dark attack, 9% crit damage on the trait, 100% weakness strike, 25% attack there, guarantee crit, magic attack. And then Leon himself has 30% alt resistance down. So do we out damage here? I know we don't have Shizuka to lower the magic resistance either. 2.7. Roughly the same amount. Okay, well, it's give and take, right? There are team setups. Once we get Albedo and Shoutier, this team will run much more efficiently, because I assume one of them will have an alt swap, one of them will have a good orb change. But, I mean, you can build teams with Ainz and Rimuru and just a hodgepodge of units, and he will do a lot of damage if you can stack him. Like, you don't have to bring Mirai for the orb change, or the future hand. Like, you could bring Soka for that. You could bring just more orb changers. You could bring free-to-play Traya. She would work very, very well here. Blanc, like, if you're not really worried about saving ults, you can swap her for another unit that's giving an attack buff and maybe an alt resistance down. You're not going to pierce here, so options are kind of limited. You could bring, like, Space Rimuru or something like that. Totally. Alright, next up, we're going to put him on the old Dark 2.0 and first anniversary team, where he should work fairly well. Full of dark units. We've got Veldora, who is just, you know, a worse version of Rimuru. Still got the reset, still got some sort of stacking attack buff, and he's raising our skill cap. He just doesn't give us extra points on greens, which is unfortunate. But we've brought Isis for the orb change, Millim's here for the orb change, Shinsha's here for the dark attack buff, Rimuru's here to give dark crit damage, and then Ainz has his own magic buff, which unfortunately will be cancelled out by Veldora. So realistically, you don't need to use rather like his big time skill, because we're already going to get crits from Rimuru. We're already going to get magic attack from Veldora. So that's an 80-point skill you just don't have to use and don't have to, you know, account for. You can still use his despair stuff to lower the alt resistance, which, you know, should work fine. But we're going to come back on turn 2 because that's where the RNG is. Alright, once again, my biggest issue with this team is that it doesn't have a dedicated orange orb changer, because the devs on the first anniversary decided to not give it to Shinsha and gave it to bitch-ass Diablo, who is a worthless unit on this team. It is what it is. Alright, well, let's do a little bit of extra crit damage and, crit resistance down and skill point gain there. I'm just going to send these Millim orbs. I'm just not even going to deal with it. Let's put some Despair on Gazel as well. And then pray that we get a few more orbs next turn for Ainz, and hopefully not all oranges. But I see that one orange coming in. That's, you know, that's also not it. I mean, we have this and we have this, so we have 3 of them. God, sometimes this game just really knows how to push my buttons. Really, really, really badly. Okay. Let's bring you in for Millim. We'll go ahead and green buff, and then we'll reset with Veldora. We got 2 Ainz orbs. Thankfully, both of them are green. I don't know if we're going to get the EX ult here, though. That's the only problem. So, boom. Crit resistance down, extra skill points. And then we also don't have an alt-swapping unit on this team, which does make it a little clunky. But this boss, honestly, is not strong enough to deal with it, so... Oh, look, more oranges! God, my favorite. That's why I hate this team. Everything, you know, during the first anniversary, it was all going well. Shinsha looked pretty good. And we're like, but where's the orange orb change? And then they gave it to a physical Diablo. A physical Diablo when the fucking Protector's giving magic attack. Like, what intern thought of that? Oh, it was like the one bad spot on the first anniversary that universally made everybody mad. Because it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Alright, well, we're obviously not going to get the EX ult here, so we're just going to have to deal with it. And we're also not cycling very fast because... Alright, that works. Thank God. We're going to have to leave Rimuru, or Ainz up here anyways to get rid of that seal, so there's no real big deal about it. We'll get you out of here. We've got 108 points, so let's use some Despair again. And then the green buff, and then we'll use both orb changes, and we'll finally have a full 6 hand of greens, thank God. He's a bit clunky. You could run just fine with Milim and Isis and bring an orange orb changer. So it's like, this is not the best setup for Ainz, but he can definitely be put onto this team, and he can work fairly well. So, but again, like, both of his skills are being overruled, right? Dark Reamer is giving crit, Veldora is giving the magic buff. Milim is the DPS of this team. Trying to put another DPS is kind of like unnecessary for the most part. But we could probably very easily kill right here and not feel bad about it either. So even if he's not stacked up, like, okay, we need one more unit or one more thing. Let's see, 8 plus, so 190 points. We need to go one more turn. So let's do another green buff, another Despair. We'll send 2 alts and 5 green, or 3 green, sorry. And we'll hold the Ainz buff for when he is not nerfed right here. So, let's see, orb. Boom, boom. And then we'll send these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hopefully he's not dead, but he might be quite close. 30k. Well, we pierced, thank God. So we did 1. Okay. We need 190 points to full nuke here on turn 8. So we just need to get to 190 points. Which might take a bit. 168. Hopefully he doesn't die before then. We don't have any friggin' greens. Alright, well that's not great. We're on turn 8. We have 172 points. Well, you know what? We're just going to have to make do with it. So, we'll bring... who's better? Probably... Let's just do this. So, 1, 2, 3. Put another stack of Despair on him. And that'll cap out Veldora. Like, honestly, once we got his ult, we got, like, enough for 2 buffs. We probably could have killed this Gazel, because he's just not very strong at this point. He's got, what, 400,000 HP? 350. And the current beatdown that Ainz is coming into, Inferno 3, has 2.7 million. So it's like, it's unnecessary. 348k. We almost could have one-shot him from the beginning at that point. So, he can work. You need to build a little bit around him. Maybe, I mean, we didn't need to bring Rimuru. He didn't do anything here. So maybe bring an orange orb changer instead, and this team will run much more efficiently. Let's move on. Okay, last part. We're going to put together this weird, messed up team. We're going to go into EX5 versus Clayman, and we're going to see how well this works. So, we've got Fire Benimaru for the burn and the turn 1 orb change. He's also doing orange to greens, blue to greens, special convert to greens, future hand of greens with Sokka, and then Ainz will be our quote-unquote DPS, even though he's not fire. And we'll try to see with the element buff, with the small attack buff we're going to get from Sokka, and the alt buff dark attack, and then our own crit and magic attack, will we be able to take out Clayman, who has a decent amount of HP? Okay, less than I thought. 682? I thought he had more. I honestly thought he had more. Is that it? Okay, no, that's it. Alright. I oversold him. Alright, well, let's jump in. Okay, so turn 1, we have to use Benimar's orb change because it also applies the burn effect, and we need that to get around Clayman binding us and poisoning us. We did bring the skill point units again, so we have enough to use the orb change here and the green buff. Now we have to leave Ainz in the back on turn 1, because Clayman puts a nasty little crit rate debuff on our front line, and we don't want to deal with that for a unit who wants to crit. So, we're going to do this. Hopefully turn 2 doesn't screw me. If it does, we'll just come back. That's fine. Okay, that'll work. So we've got 100 points, 102 technically, and we can do quite a bit of orb changing here. So we're going to feature hand, first off, we're going to bring Dark Milim in for, let's see, Isis, because we've already used everything she needs to do. And then we'll use the Milim Orb Change. Boom. And then we will use Rimuru to, let's see, we'll take Milim out of here. Well, no, it's a 2-2-2 spread, so we'll take Soka out of here. We'll do this. We'll get the first element buff on Ainz. We'll also reset Benimaru's Orb Change, which is important. And then we'll be looking pretty good moving forward. And then these greens will give us, quite a bit of extra skill points here. And another gauge. So cool. 150 capped out right there. 52, 52, 55. Looking good. I think we have a good chance of murdering this guy. Alright, cool. And there's the future hand of greens coming in. Works out very well. So we'll bring Soka back in here for Milim. Ainz has no orbs, which is quite unfortunate. So let's see. Do we just send it? I think we just send it. Let's get the stack on Ainz at the very least. And then we'll also put a little bit of his despair on as well. So boom, right there. We'll do another future hand of greens coming in. And then we'll take Ainz out, because I'll bring him in for whoever has the most orbs next turn. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect, max points, another gauge. Benimaru's damage is 21k. Alright, cool, I don't care. Alright, he's doing a bit more damage. We want orbs for Ainz, though. And we're going to make sure that we have orbs for Ainz, because we're going to bring him in for what looks like Soka. Okay. Right. Yeah, because Soka's going to have 3 orbs. So you know what? We're just going to burn this and just deal with the extra cost just to bring Ainz in for the unit that has the most amount of orbs. And then we shall reset, put another stack on him. And then we'll put some more despair. And we'll do the green buff again. Perfect. Alright. So this will work out. This should get Ainz's not EX ult, but his normal ult. And another Benimaru ult. Cool, whatever. Alright, counterattack. Ice. Okay, another count. Come on. You gotta stop that. You gotta stop double countering every turn, because obviously those two are quite low. They're gonna have to go away soon. And we just refuse to stop getting Benny orbs. So he's got an ult. Those 2 units will die, unfortunately, if they come in. So Soka's going to come in for Benimaru. Boom. And then Milim will come in for Isis. We can change that orange orb here. Excellent. We could use Rimuru to reset the skill costs of everything, so the despair. And also another future hand. Although I don't really think we need to use that here, because we have so many orb changers. Let's just do this. I don't know why I did that out of order, but here we go. Okay, so depending on how our health looks, we may have to nuke a little bit earlier than what I wanted to. Okay, yeah, we're going to have to nuke a bit early, because he's not type advantage, and he has resistance against magic. So you see this 15%, no, that's magic attack, sorry. But he is weaker to physical, is what I was trying to get at. So here, we have 304 points. We have enough. We'll go ahead and ult right here. So the attack buff is only 25%. We'll get the... So it's the same as Milim's attack buff, so we actually don't really need to use this at all. But we'll get the guaranteed crits. And then we can use the 2 stacks of Rimuru, 1 stack of Rimuru, to reset, and we can put another stack of Despair on, which is 5% ult resistance down. It does slowly start to add up over time. And we have enough to really orb change here, huh? So boom, we have no Ainz orbs though, which is just it's just dandy. But we can at least do this. So let's see how much Ainz does here. Is he able to wipe out 437k worth of HP? Find out today on Dragon Ball Z. 248 is not what I was looking for. Okay, that's unfortunate. We're gonna need a bit more here. Sokka may not be the best option, because did we really need the future hand? We have 3 orb changers here. Let's swap her out. Let's bring someone else in. Okay, we took out Sokka. We're gonna bring Aqua for the ult rush and the big time pierce buff. So this will ensure that we can get the EX ult for Ainz, because he will have the highest amount of attack, and we'll have another big time buff to help push our damage up through that threshold of murdering Clayman. We're gonna come back on like turn 4 or 5, or maybe closer to the nuke turn, since we know how this is supposed to run. That way don't waste all your time. Alright, we're back on turn 5. This is the 3rd run, because he always decides to one-shot Ainz, because he always likes to counter Ainz, which is why his health is so much lower than the other ones. Plus, I'm keeping him in because he needs to get the EX ult, which Aqua is definitely helping us get, obviously, because we're on turn 5 when we get the EX ult. But we have enough points to do pretty much everything that I want to here. So we have enough to do the 2 big time buffs, we have enough for this, and we have enough for the alt buff. So let's go ahead and just take out... Actually, we'll just use the Aqua buff here. Boom. And then we can take out her for Dark Milim, and that way she's giving both Isis and Ainz the attack buff for dark units. So, now that we have the EX ult, we're going to do a lot more than the 200 something we did last time, plus the Pierce buff. This should go probably a lot better. Hopefully? Question mark? We should do a lot more damage here. He has 533k, so not as low as last time, but I still think we're going to be okay. And Ainz does 569 right there. Alright, so that's much better damage. With another big time buff and the EX ult pushed us above what we actually needed. So Ainz maybe can't take care of everything by himself, but if you put a good team around him, that at least makes sense, right? I know Benimaru and Isis are a kind of a weird combo, but we have the orb changes covered, and this is a green stacking team, which means we need orb changers. So regardless of, how well they work together cohesively as far as their buffs are concerned, it's their orb changes that I really cared about. And then Ainz, Milim, and Aqua were more than enough to, push our damage into the threshold of killing. So, overall, Ainz is okay. I wouldn't call him amazing yet. We'll see how the rest of the meta plays out as far as supporting him and making him look very, very good. But I would call him, I would put him at a solid 7 out of 10 right now. So, to recap, Ainz, Dark Magic, Stern of Spirit, Wielder of Magic Commander, free gear from the beatdown battle, which is very nice. He's a single target Dark Magic for 490%, 1.5 times if you have the EX ult. His first skill, Stern of Spirit and Commander allies get guaranteed crits. Most of the teams that we used today did not consist of a lot of Stern of Spirit or Commander, so it's pretty much just a personal crit buff and a personal magic attack buff is what it boils down to, which is, fine for a selfish DPS character. His second skill adds the Despair Charge, 5% of passive attack damage on the enemy, and then 5% ult resistance down. But more importantly, the green protection gauge increased by 50%. And then his actual trait, because we weren't in Valor, is protection gauge 5 points every 3 turns, which makes him good for long form content, which is definitely where he's going to excel, having such a high cost buff. But let me know what you guys think of Ainz. Do you think he's better than what I'm giving him? Do you think he's a lot worse than what I'm giving him? I know people aren't overly happy with his kit, but I think he has some usage here and there. Not as much as others, though. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That's it for me. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you all later.